Hey Fox, welcome to the very first session of this Russian Tudes. It is typically our very first use case. This use case is all about, again, we have all the raw data. Again, in the real world, the data that is given to us is exactly my raw data. So first and foremost, the data that is given to us, we have to clean this data. Again, in the real world, data cleaning skills makes a lot of sense. So even if you are a beginner, or if you are a practicing data scientist, or if you are practicing data analyst, data cleaning skills are quite important. Just like data structures and algorithms are extremely important for software development role for some top product based companies, let's say at Amazon, at let's say Apple. Similarly, data cleaning skills and data pre-processing skills are quite important to know if you are targeting some of the top product based companies as a machine learning engineer role 1 or as a data scientist role, whatever role it can be. So whatever data we have, first and foremost, we have to clean that data. Again, cleaning itself will take lots of hours in real world. Again, in the real world, your pre-processing itself take approx 2/3 of entire time. Again, it is one of the most complicated steps in entire real world data analytics use case. So once we will clean our data, or once we will pre-process our data, what we have to do is we have to understand this data. Again, just to understand this data, we will use lots of charts, lots of graphs, considering what problem statement you have. Again, in this entire use case, we will primarily focus on the problem solving skills, as well as we will also touch upon all the logical thinking approach, how to solve the problem in the real world considering different logics. Again, we will also touch upon how to write the pseudocode and how to convert this pseudocode into executable code. We will also touch upon this. So our main goal in this course, and of course in this use case, is of course my problem solving, my logical thinking, and my pseudocode. And anyhow, at any cost, we have to convert this pseudocode into some executable code. Again, in the real world, these are some of the premium skills where you have to focus more. So first and foremost, the data that we have is exactly my raw data. Again, the data that is given to us can have lots of error, can have lots of typos, whatever else it can be, can have lots of missing values, can have lots of dirtiness, whatever it can be. Again, in the real world, this data can be in some databases. This data can be in some big data sources. This data can be in some data warehouses. There are lots of ways, there are lots of places where you can store this data. Or this data can be in also my CSV format, or it can be in my JSON format. Again, in the real world, this JSON format is extremely used. Again, JSON is all about, I have data in the form of key value pair. Again, JSON is extremely simple. You will laugh at it. So typically, these are 4 places where you can think of storing your data. Again, inside this databases, we have our relational database and we have our non-relational database. Again, relational data is all about the data which is exactly table centric, or if I have data which can be stored in the form of rows and columns, that data is exactly my table centric, and such type of data can be stored in relational databases. Let's say, of course, one of the popular relational database is SQL. On the other hand, we have some non-relational databases. Again, if we have some data, let's say some data of, let's say, document. Again, in a nutshell, this non-relational databases is often known as document centric, because in document, we will typically store our data in the form of key value pair. Hence, it is often known as document centric. So this is a very high level overview of how to store your data in the real world. Again, once we have this raw data, first and foremost, we will try to clean this data. Again, cleaning itself will take lots of hours, irrespective of whatever use case it will be. So once we will clean this data, then there is something known as featureization, where we will featureize our data and we will come up with some set of features, let's say some F1, F2, F3, and then later on we will perform some in-depth analysis considering this set of features. Once we will featureize our data very well, then we will try to perform some data visualization. Again, data visualization, inside this data visualization, we would love to explore considering different modules. Let's say, hey, we can explore using Seaborn, we can explore using Matplotlib, we can explore using Matplotlib, of course. We can explore using bokeh. There are tons of ways just to perform this data visualization. So we will primarily touch upon Seaborn, Matplotlib, and of course Plotly. Again, bokeh is all about the extension of Plotly. Hence, we will primarily touch upon these three modules in this entire use case, not in this entire use case, but in the entire course as well. So this is typically our high level overview of how you have to proceed in this entire use case. So first and foremost, we will import our pandas, then we will import our NumPy as well, then we will import our Seaborn. Of course, pandas is extensively used in data manipulation and data pre-processing. NumPy is extensively used when you have to perform some numerical tasks on top of your data. Seaborn, of course, we can think of Seaborn, we can think of Matplotlib as well. Again, the below two modules are especially for my data visualization. So in the very first cell, we will try to import all these four modules, and later on, considering our needs, considering our problem statements, we will touch upon some more modules as well. Again, for those of you who do not know all these modules, please feel free to drop your query in the Q&A of the course. We will try to share some amazing links, and if possible, we will try to add some videos as well. Again, these videos will be free of cost. So please feel free to drop your query in the Q&A of the course. So very first, I'm going to say I have to just import my pandas module, and I'm going to create its alias, let's say SPD. Then I'm going to say I have to import my another module, which is exactly NumPy, of course, for my numerical computations. The third, I can think of course, my Seaborn, and I'm going to create its alias, let's say SNS. Then I can think of course, my Matplotlib, and of course, from this Matplotlib module, I have to go inside one more module, which is exactly Python plot, and I'm going to create its alias, let's say PLT. Now let me just execute this line of code, or let me just execute this cell using Ctrl+Enter. Once all your stuffs get successfully executed, now what we have to do, first and foremost, I have to read my raw data, whatever given to us. So I have to just call a function which is my read_CSV, because we are fortunate enough that we have all the data in the form of CSV format. Let me show you that. Again, this is typically my all the data that we really need to consider in this entire use case. So I'm just going to copy this path that we really need in order to read all this data. So what I need is, over here, if I will press Shift+Tab, this is all about the signature of this function, what all parameter it receives. The first and foremost parameter is all about, hey, what is the file path, or where exactly your data is available. So what I will say is, I will say this is exactly my file path where my data is available. So what I will do is, first and foremost, I have to append R, which is exactly my raw string, that helps Python just to read the file more efficiently. Again, very first, we have to read this file, which is my tweets.csv. So I will say this time my data is all about tweets.csv. So what it will return us, it will just return us some data frame object. So let me store that object that's in troll, and let me just execute this line of code. And if I'm going to say, let's say troll.head, just to showcase or just to visualize first 5 rows of the data frame. Again, by default over here my value is 5. And if I will execute this line of code, these are typically my first 5 rows of the data frame. And if I'm going to say, let's say troll.shape, just to get all the rows or just to get the dimensions of a data frame, it will say you have that much number of the observations in your data and you have that much number of columns in data frame. So for your first assignment is all about, hey, you have to explore your missing values. Again, you can explore missing values by just using some inbuilt function of your pandas module. So I can explore all the features that have missing values. Then we have to perform some basic data pre-processing. Again, considering all these features, we can think of some basic data pre-processing. Let's say, hey, can you convert some of the data types? Let's say, so over here, I'm going to say troll.isNull. If I will execute it, it will typically returns values in the form of booleans. It means it returns values either as false or either as true. Wherever it is false, it means that observation is not null. And wherever it is true, it means that observation is null. So on top of this, if I will call my sum function and if I will execute, it will return all the missing values across each and every feature you have. Now I have to sort all these stats over here. So on top of this, I will just say dot sort underscore values. I have to just use this, let's say ascending equals to false. just to sort the order in the descending order. Let me just execute this line of code, and this is typically your descending order. Now you will see these are typically my first 5 features that have maximum number of missing values in your data. Now let's perform some basic data pre-processing. So if I will say troll dot, let's say dtypes, just to get the data types of each and every feature, if I will execute it, now you will see with respect to each and every feature, you have some data type. Let's say user ID has float, user key has object, created at is exactly belongs to my float class. Of course, now you can think of created str belongs to my object class. It means it is a categorical feature. Again, unfortunately, pandas consider my all the datetime feature just as a object category, or you can also think of as categorical nature. Again, if you want to get rid of all this mess up, there are typically 2 ways to handle this. First way is, again, inside a read CSV function, you have very important parameter, which is I think a pass underscore dates. In this parameter, just pass that feature, imagine created underscore str. Let me show you that one more thing. If I will scroll it to above, you will see created str is all about at what date typically my tweet is generated. Again, from the basic domain knowledge, we can say, hey, this cannot be belong to categorical nature. It means it is, of course, it is an object of datetime format, or it belongs to my datetime nature. But unfortunately, pandas will consider it as object. So typically there are 2 ways to handle it. First way, you can think of some parameter as pass underscore dates and just pass this feature. The second way that you can think of, you can just customize its data type from object to datetime using some inbuilt function that is available inside my pandas. This is typically your second way. Again, this is one of the extremely used ways in the real world. So I'm going to say pd.to_datetime. This is the function that is responsible for converting all the object features, especially in your datetime nature. So first and foremost, I have to access that feature, which is typically my created underscore date. So I will say created underscore str. Of course, this is that feature. Now we have to update this feature as well. So what I will do is I will say just paste this feature. Now if I will execute, and if I'm going to say dot, let's say dtype, let me show you. Now this belongs to my, of course, my datetime nature. So that's all about this session. In all our upcoming session, we would love to explore this data. We will analyze it, clean it, pre-process it, and we will also gradually add in some of the advanced scenarios as well. So that's all about it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing. Hey folks, in the previous session, we have typically read our data, whatever raw data that is given to us. Then we have performed some basic data manipulation or basic data pre-processing on top of our created underscore str feature. This is what we have done typically in our previous session. So let us go slightly ahead and understand some of the problem statements from wide spectrum. So typically in this session, we have our problem statement as, hey, can you find out what is the period of the tweets? Whatever this data captures. This is basically our very first big challenge. So what I will do is, first and foremost, I have to access this feature, which is exactly my created underscore str feature. On top of this, if I will call, let's say, min function, just to compute the minimum value, or just to compute that day when my first tweet was generated. Again, this is typically my first date when my first date was generated. In a similar way, I can also say on top of this, hey, can I call my one more function, which is my max function. So this is basically my last date of the tweet. It means my period is all about, of course, my 3 years, where it starts from 14th July 2014 to 26th of September to 2017. This is typically the range in which I have all the tweets. This is typically the range in which I have all the tweets that are generated by all the users, all the different users. So my second problem statement is all about, hey, can you understand the trend of the tweet counts by day? It means at any cost, I have to come up with such data. I have to come up with such data which have, let's say, 2 features. Let's say one of the feature is, let's say, date. That is, the second feature is exactly, let's say, tweet underscore counts. It means with respect to whatever date we have, we need to evaluate the total number of the tweets with respect to the particular date. Imagine I have date as, let's say, 14th July, let's say 2014. Then I have to compute the total number of the tweets with respect to this date. Let's say my tweet is, let's say 2K or 2000. Similarly, with respect to, let's say, 26th July, I have to compute total number of the tweets. Similarly, so on. It means the core idea is, if I can come up with such data, I can easily come up with some meaningful conclusion. Again, if we have such data, I can simply say, hey, whatever data we have, on top of this, just call a line plot. Or just say, hey, this is typically the data on x-axis. We have all the dates on x-axis, and I have all the tweets on y-axis, and I can just plot a line plot. That's it. So in a nutshell, this is what I need. So first and foremost, what we have to do is, from this feature, very first we have to access date. We have to access the date. Once we will access date, then we can evaluate the total number of the tweet with respect to each and every date. This is typically my pseudocode. You can also say this is my pseudocode. So if I will write it pseudocode, it is often as, hey, first and foremost, you need date. So I can extract this date from this created underscore str feature. Of course, from this created underscore str feature, on top of this, I will just call some inbuilt function just to extract this date. Once I have this date, what I need is, I need some count. So what I will do is, whatever date I have, on top of this, I will say, hey, just count it. Or I can think of course, my value counts function. Again, if I can call this value counts function with respect to each and every date, I can end up having some count value. It means I have some date and I have some count. Again, it is often my tweet count. So once I will end up having such data, I am done. I can easily plot its line plot, and this is what I really need. So on top of this feature, if I will call, let's say, dt.date, and if I will execute this line of code, these are all the dates that you are getting. Again, this is typically my object of datetime module. Again, datetime module is extensively used when you have to interact with your datetime features. So I will say, in this feature, just extract some date. And just to extract date, datetime is extensively used. Now I have to store this somewhere else. So I will say, let's say this time, this feature is all about str underscore date. Now what we have to do is, we have to just execute this line of code. And I'm just going to say this feature is exactly date. And if I will execute, these are all the dates that I am getting. Let me show you one more thing. If I will say created underscore str, this is typically my date and this is typically my time. Now what I need is, I just need a count. So I will say pd.value underscore count. Over there, I have to just pass it. And if I will execute, you are getting all the counts. It means with respect to this date, you have that much count. Now I need to convert this into some data frame. So what I need to do is, on top of this, I will say just call to underscore frame. That's it. And if I will execute, this is typically what I'm getting. Now what we need to do is, very first we have to store it somewhere else. So I will say tweet underscore, let's say trend. Let's say this is the name of the data frame object. Let me just execute, and I'm going to say tweet underscore trend. You can just press tab and that's okay. Now what I need to do is, very first I have to manipulate its column name. So I will say dot columns is all about, let's say my column name is tweets underscore count. Let me just execute it, and I'm going to say, let's say tweet underscore trend. Let me execute, and this is the data frame that I really need. Now what we have to do is, first and foremost, we have to sort this data frame considering the date. Again, if you will skip this step, you will get some uneven trend. So I will say, on top of this, I have to just call something known as sort underscore index. You can just press tab. This is my feature, or this is my function. So over here I have to say ascending equals to true. This is of course, let me just press tab. This is exactly, let me press tab. Now I will say ascending equals to true. Then I'm going to say in place equals to also true. Then what I will do is, I will just execute this line of code, and I'm going to say tweet underscore trend. Let me just execute, and this is what we are getting. Now I have to just plot all these stuff. So I will say dot plot, and over there And let me show you, if I will execute this line of code, you are getting typically this line plot. Let me just customize this line plot. So what I will do is I will say figure size, let's say this time my figure size is all about, let's say 12,8. Again, this is my window size, on top of which I have to showcase my visualization. And if I will execute this line of code, now this is the bigger visualization that you are getting, and this is a trend of the tweets, of course, that you can check over here. Now on top of this, what I need to do is I can showcase some x-axis, some y-axis, and of course some title as well. That's not a rocket science. So I will say plt dot, let's say first and foremost I will add some title. Let's title is all about, let's say tweets counts by date. Let's say this is my title. Once I will add title, I will say I have to add some, let's say x label, some y label as well. So I will say x label, and x label is all about, let's say date. Once I will add my x label, I will say plt dot, let's say y label. Of course, in this y label, I can say, hey, on y label, I have basically my tweet count. So I will say it is exactly my tweet count. And let me just execute this line of code. And this is what you are getting. Of course, you can see, again, you can see in this interval, you are getting a spike in the total tweet counts. So in the next session, we would love to explore, hey, what is the reason behind this spike that we are getting over here? Again, we will also analyze the spike that we are getting is due to the US president election or not. Again, this is one of the major reasons behind this spike. So first and foremost, we will understand why we are getting this spike. Then we will also touch upon, hey, whether this spike is all on account of this US president election or not. So this is basically our next problem statement that we have to deal. So that's all about this session. And if you guys have any issues, any query, feel free to share with us. Feel free to drop your query in the Q&A of the course. We will try to respond as soon as possible, and we will try to resolve your query as soon as possible. That's all about this session. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing. Hey folks, in the previous session, we have come up with this. Of course, this is my trend. And of course, this is a region that we are getting as a spike. So in this session, our problem statement is all about, we have to analyze if these tweets really had to impact the way of the US elections or not. It means anyhow we have to analyze whether these spike are on account of US president election or not. Again, first and foremost, we need some important dates on which there is a campaign of course, my Donald Trump, which is a former president of US. So first and foremost, we need some important dates related to the campaigns of Donald Trump. So this article is all about, I have all the important dates which are exactly related to the campaigns of Donald Trump. We have all these important dates as 2015, June 16, July, we have 7th of December, we have 1st Feb of 2016. We have all these dates. So again, anyhow, we have to extract all these dates and we have to map over here. This is basically our core idea behind this. So these are basically all my important dates related to the Donald Trump campaigns. Again, if we have more number of dates, in such scenarios, I have to perform something known as web scraping. In such scenarios, I have to perform something known as scraping or web scraping, where I can think of using, again, Beautiful Soup, which is one of the amazing library just to perform the web scraping. Or we can also write some script just to extract some important dates. But as we do not have huge data, I can think of storing this data in a list often known as dates_list. So in this list, of course, I have all these important dates which are exactly related to the Donald Trump campaigns. So now what we need to do is, again, we have a data frame which is exactly tweet_trend. Over there, we have basically my date as my index. Then we have a feature which is my tweet_count. So again, we need to manipulate this data frame which is my tweet_trend. So we need to have more set of features. So I can think of some set of features as, hey, can you insert one more feature as, let's say, important_events? And I will say, if any date is a part of my important dates, in such case, just assign true to that particular observation. This is typically my core idea. Imagine one of my important day, let's say as 15th June. So I can say this is of course my important event. Just assign true to that particular observation. And later on, I will add some more features considering our problem statement. But this is the core idea of this session. So first and foremost, what we have to do is we have to convert this list data structure into some series data structure. Again, series is typically a one-dimensional data structure of my pandas module. Again, pandas itself has 3 data structure. The very first one is my series, which is my one-dimensional data structure. The second is exactly my data frame, which is my two-dimensional data structure, which is often used in the real world. The third one, which is exactly my panel, which is exactly my three-dimensional data structure, which is very rarely used in the real world. But these two are extensively used in most of the scenarios. So first and foremost, I have to convert this list into series data structure so that I can add one more features or set of features, let's say as important underscore events. Lots of features depending upon our needs. So I will say it is all about pd.series. Over here we have to just pass this list, which is exactly my dates underscore list. Now I have to store this somewhere else. So I will say it is exactly, let's say important underscore, let's say dates. Let's say this is my series object, which is exactly my important underscore dates. And let me just print this. So these are all the important dates that you have. Now, very first, let's create some copy of the data frame. Let's say tweet underscore trend dot copy, and let me create its copy, let's say in data, so that whatever manipulation I will do, I will perform on top of this data. So what I will do is I will just execute this line of code, and if I'm going to say, let's say data. So this is typically the copy of the data frame that we have. Now what we have to do is we have to insert one more feature, which is my important underscore events. And if my date follows, or if my date lies under important dates, in such case I will append true, else all the observations will be false. This is typically the core idea that we have to do. It means, in a nutshell, inside this data, which is of course my data frame, I have to first and foremost I have to append a feature, or I have to append of course my column, which is my important underscore events. Again, just to do this entire stuff, there are lots of ways, there are tons of ways to do this. The first way is you can directly define some column, and you can simply insert the values over there. This is typically your first way. The second way is you can think of, first and foremost, you can think of storing all these data in some data structures, let's say as list. Hey, can you store all the data, of course, of true and false in some data structure, let's say list, and then insert this list, of course, in some feature. Let's say my feature is, let's say, important underscore events. This is typically my second way. The third way that you can think of some inbuilt function of pandas. Again, if you are extremely good with pandas, these things will be a piece of cake for you. So I can say, hey, can I use the insert function, which is a inbuilt function of my pandas module. So I will use this function, and I will just provide some custom parameters, and of course I am done. This is basically my third way. Again, we would love to solve this, of course, using this approach, and we will also touch upon the second and third approach, of course, as a set of problems. Again, these, whatever the set of problems we have, we would love to solve it at the end of the use case. Again, these set of problems will be your assignment, so just try to solve it. Of course, it will improve your programming skills, it will improve your logical thinking as well. That's why I will provide you all these problems as a set of problems. Of course, we will also solve it at the end of the use case. So we will follow the very first approach in this session. Just define some column and just insert all the values over there. I will say data of, let's say my feature name is all about, let's say important underscore or important events. So I will say this is basically my feature. I will say just assign all the rows as false. Let me just execute this line of code, and if I'm going to say data, let's say data, let me just execute. You will see you are getting all the rows or all the observations as false. Now I have all the values as false. Now if any date belongs to my important dates, in such case I have to append or I have to insert true or I have to replace false with true. This is what we have to do. Again, just to do this, we have lots of ways. The first way that you can think of, hey, I can write my own code. I can write my own code where I will use some basic if-else block. I will just write some lines of code and I'm done. This is typically the first way. The second way is you can think of using numpy.where function. Again, this where function is extensively used in the real world. Again, where function is all about the implementation of if else in the real world. That's it. This is typically my second way. The third way that you can use some property of a data frame. You can use some .lock, which is exactly my location property of data frame, where you will say, let's assign true to those observation inside the feature if any of the date belongs to my important days. This is what I can do, of course, using 3 ways. So of course, in the next session, we will primarily touch upon this second way, and these 2 will be your assignment. Of course, we will also touch upon both the ways, of course, as a set of problems, and we will also touch upon it at the end of the use case. But again, first and foremost, please try to solve it. It will just not improve your programming skills. It will also take your skills to the next level. Again, while solving, if you have any error, if you have any issues, whatever error, whatever you have, feel free to share with us in the Q&A of the course. Please share the snapshot of the error that you are getting, whatever queries, whatever error we have. We will try to respond and we will try to fix as soon as possible. So that's all about this session. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing. Hey folks, in the previous session, we have ended up having this feature and now we have to manipulate it. It means we have to manipulate as, hey, if any of the date will lie under my important dates, then just assign important event as true. This is what we have to do in this session. Again, there are lots of ways to do this, but we will primarily touch upon using our NumPy module, and we will touch upon, of course, using where function. So if I will say, let's say numpy dot where, and if I will press shift plus tab just to go through its entire documentation, its signature, whatever else it will be. So first and foremost, we have some condition, and considering the condition, it will typically returns the element from X or Y depending upon whatever condition we have. This is what this where function will do for us. So my condition is all about, if my date is a part of important list, in such case assign true to this important events, else assign false. This is what you have to typically do. Let me show you that. If I will say data of date, again, just to find at what rows you have your important day inside this date feature, you can use, or you can think of using this is in function. Over there, I have to just say, just pass my important dates. So I will say you can just press, and this is exactly important underscore dates. And if I will execute this line of code. Now, unfortunately, you are getting an error, which is exactly key error. So let's try to understand this error from scratch. So this error says, hey, you do not have any feature or any key as date in your data frame. Again, while going through with this course, or while going through with any case study, or even if you are a learner or if you are a practicing data scientist, errors are very common, but you need to tackle it in an efficient way. So this error says, hey, you do not have any feature as date in your data frame. Let me show you that. Now you will see inside this data, which is of course my data frame, you do not have any feature as your date. You have just feature as tweets underscore count and important underscore events. But of course, you have all the row indexes as your date. So what I can do is, on top of this data, what I will do is, I will just do some basic data manipulation. So I will say dot reset underscore index. And if I will execute this line of code, this is all the dates that I am getting. But unfortunately, my column name is index. So I will just rename it. So I will say dot rename. Of course, this is exactly my rename. So over there, I have very handy parameter, which is exactly my columns. Inside this column, I have to pass the data in the form of course, in the form of curly braces. Over here, we have to say my key is exactly my index that we have to manipulate, and I have to manipulate it as, of course, my date. Now, once I will do it, what we need to do is, we need to store all these stuffs inside my data. I will say just store it. And if I'm going to say, let me just print my data. Now I have the feature as my date. Let me say, yeah, this is my date. And if I will execute this line of code, now you will see you are getting probably all the values as false. Again, just to cross check, I can just call, let's say, unique, and I will say this is exactly my unique. Let me just execute. Unfortunately, you are getting all the values as false. It means the code that you have written, according to that, there is no such important date that lies inside this date feature. But we knows, of course, we have some important date and that must lie in this date feature. It means there is something going wrong inside this code, or there might be some issues with the data type of the feature that we have. Again, these can be the possible scenarios. So let's try to check it out. So what I will do is, let me check it. So I will say, let's say data of date. Let me just execute. These are all the values, and let me just access, let's say, data of, let's say, 0th index. Let me just print it. Now you will see whatever date you have, it belongs to my datetime object. Now what I will do is, I will say important underscore dates. Let me just print, and these are all my important dates. And if I will access, let's say, data of, let's say, 0th index, and if I will execute, unfortunately, you are getting the value in the form of string nature. Now let me just cross check it. So if I will say, hey, what exactly its type, and if I will execute, of course, unfortunately, it belongs to my string object. And let me just cross check it as well. So what I will do is, I will say, hey, what exactly its data type. Let me just execute, and it belongs to my date class. And this is the reason why we are not getting any important dates over here, because it says, hey, you do not have any important date because you are just getting all the values as false. It means, just to handle this scenario, what you have to do is, you have to make sure that, of course, this series and of course this series must be on same scale. This is what you need to do. Again, just to ensure that both are on same scale, you have two ways to do it. The first way that you can think of is, I will say, both the series must belong to my datetime object. This is the first way that I can do. Or there is one more alternative. Here I can say, hey, I will convert this datetime into some string. This is typically your second way. Of course, this is already string and I will convert this into string. It means the second way is, both the series or both the data structures belong to my string class. So these are typically two ways just to handle this scenario. Again, in this session, we will primarily touch upon this first way. Again, this is typically your assignment, and we will also touch upon at the end of the use case. Or you can also think of considering this as your in this session, and you can also consider this as your assignment. So let's try to consider this one in your session and this as your, of course, your set of problems. We will consider this as my set of problems, and we will love to solve it at the end of the use case. So now we need to convert this date into some string object. So what I will do is, on top of this, I have to apply some function just to convert this into some string object. So I will say lambda of x, of course. On top of each and every observation, I can think of using this inbuilt function, which is my string f time. Over there, what we have to do is, we have to just pass some format in which you wish to convert your datetime object into your string object. Again, from this, we have a format as, this is typically my year, this is typically my month, and this is basically my date. So this is the format. This is typically the format that we have to use over here just to convert this date into some string object. This is what we have to do. So I will say it is all about, of course, my percentage. Then I have to use this capital Y. Then I will say, of course, I have my percentage. Then I have to use the small m. Then I have to use this percentage. Then I have to use the small d. And I'm going to say, let me just update it and let me just execute this line of code. And if I'm going to say, let me just execute it, and if I'm going to say, let me access data of 0th index, let me just execute it, and congratulations, you are done. Now let me just cross check it as well. So I will say, hey, what exactly its type. Let me just execute. Now fortunately, Now both the features or both the series data structure are on same scale, and this is what you really need. And if I'm going to say, let me just copy the above code what I have written, and if I'm going to say, let me just paste it, and if I'm going to execute, now fortunately you are getting the values as false and true. It means you have some important date inside this date feature. Again, just to showcase it, what you can do is this is exactly my filter. Now I have to pass this filter inside my data, which is my data frame. And if I will execute, now these are all the important dates that I am getting. Now with respect to important date, I have to just assign values too. So what I will do is I will just use this numpy.var function, and this is typically my all the condition. So what I will do is I will say, hey, this is the operation. Again, this is typically my condition. The operation that we have to perform, I will say, if this condition matches, just assign true, else just assign false. And if I will execute this line of code, these are all the set of values that we are getting. You will see we have some true values, we have some false values as well. Now what I will do is I will say just update your important events. So I will say I have to just access this important events. That's it. And if I will execute, and let me show you one more thing. And if I'm going to say, let me just say, just return all the values wherever it is true. Let me just execute. These are all the values in the form of false and true. Again, this is typically my all the filter. I have to just pass this filter inside my data frame. Let me just execute, and these are all the observations where my important event is occurred. And this is typically, I have all these important dates over here. So that's all about this session. And if you guys have any issues, feel free to post your query in the Q&A of the course. That's all about it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing. Hey folks, before going ahead in this session, let's have a quick recap of what exactly we have done typically in the previous session. So in the previous session, we have just pre-processed just this date feature so that we are able to apply our numpy.var function just to provide all the true values to these important events. This is what we have to do. Again, we all are doing all these pre-processing just to ensure that whether whatever tweets we have, whether it will impact our US election or not. Again, this is our primary goal. So in this session, our cool challenge is all about, at any cost, I have to prepare my data just for the analysis if whatever tweets we have, whether it will impact the way of the US elections or not. Again, just to do this, what we really need is, we need one more feature. Let's say, hey, can you insert one more feature, let's say as values? And I will say, just assign 1 to all those observations if any date lies inside my important date. Else append 0. Again, first and foremost, let's understand why we all are going to do this. Let me very first scroll it to top, and let me show you one more thing. Yeah, this is basically my trend with respect to some date. I have some tweets count. So on top of this visualization, I have to map some important dates. Again, just to map your important dates, you need typically two things. It means on x-axis, you need some date. On y-axis, you need some values or you need some count. Of course, with respect to important dates. Again, as it is a line plot, so we typically need our x and y. So this x will be my date and this y will be my some value. Again, just to plot this, we need this coordinate. Let's say my date is, let's say 14th July, let's say 2016. And let's say my value is 1. So I will say, let's say this is the date. And let's say, imagine I have some more date. Let's say this is the date. Let's say this is the date. Let's say this is the date. So if I have such kind of pattern, then I can come up with this conclusion. Yeah, of course. On all the important dates, we have a spike in the tweet counts. And hence, of course, it will affect the US elections. Again, just to make things more clear or just to understand this trend in much more better way, you can also think of using something known as moving average. Again, for those of you who do not know this moving average, kindly check out the previous video where I have explained all the stuffs regarding moving average. imagine this is, let's say this is the moving average of this entire line plot we have. So if we have this moving average and if we have all these important dates, then I can end up having this conclusion. Yeah, of course, on all these important dates, we have a spike in the tweets. Hence, the tweets will affect my US election. Again, for those of you who do not know this moving average, let me give you a quick summary of this. Imagine you have two features, let's say as date, and let's say the second feature is, let's say, tweet counts. Let's say you have date, let's say 14th July, let's say 15th July, let's say 16th, let's say 17, let's say 18, let's say 19, until let's say 25. And I have some tweet counts, let's say 10, let's say 15, let's say 20, imagine it is 25, and imagine it is 35, imagine it is 45, and we have lots of values. So if I will say, hey, can you compute its moving average considering your window? Again, window is typically your business period. So I will say if my minimum period, often known as minimum period, if my minimum period is, let's say 4, hey, can you compute your moving average? It means first and foremost, I will consider this period, and whatever mean I will get, I will just say, hey, let's say imagine its mean is, assume 17. In a similar way, if this is my minimum period, then with respect to 18th of July, imagine I will say my moving average is, let's say 30. Similarly, for 19, I will consider this period. Similarly, let's say for 20, I will consider this period. So whatever the value that I will get, I will say, just plot it. Of course, the first 3 values will be my missing values or my NaN values. Again, these will be my NaN values. So it means I will end up having all these values. Again, one of the key advantages is the whatever value we will get, we will have, of course, less variance. We will typically have our less variance if we will apply moving average on top of whatever feature we have. Again, if it has more variance, it will convert that high variance into my low variance. Again, for detailed explanation, kindly check out my previous video. It means, anyhow, I need one more feature, which is exactly values, just to plot all these things. Again, just to create this values feature, there are lots of ways. The first way that you can think of, hey, I can use my own code and I can use some if-else block or along with for block, and I can end up having some data, let's say in some list data structure, and then I can append in this data frame. That's it. This is typically your first way, where you can think of writing code completely from scratch, of course using some for loop along with some condition. This is typically your first way. The second way is, of course, you can also implement all these stuffs using my numpy.where function. Again, this is one of the very handy function in real world also. The third way that you can think of, hey, I will use my location property of my pandas module and I will end up having this feature, let's say, as values. Again, just to do this, there are lots of ways, but these are some of the most frequent ways. Again, in this session, we will touch upon the second way, and the first, and of course my third, is exactly your assignment. Again, at the end of the use case, we will also touch upon this. So what I will say is, the blocks of code will be similar. I have to just do some manipulation, and I will say, if the date will be a part of important dates, in such case, just assign 1, else just assign 0. Again, let me show you one more thing. And if I will execute, you will get an array of 0 and 1s. Let me store this array somewhere else. So I will say, why not just create some feature just to store it. So I will say, let's say my feature is all about, let's say, values. Now what I will do is, I will just execute this line of code. And if I'm going to say data.head, let me pass some value, let's say as 5. Let me just execute, and again, now you are end up having this feature, which is exactly my values. And this is that feature that will act as a y-axis, of course, for my line chart. Now we have successfully prepared our data. Now what we have to do is, we have to visualize this data. Again, just to visualize this, we will primarily focus on our line plot. And what we need to do is, again, so first line chart is all about, we have some date. Again, these are not my important dates. These are all the dates of my data frame. So I will say I have all the dates, And of course, I have my tweet counts. This is typically my first line chart. Then of course, I have second line chart that I will map on top of this first. So I will say I have to map on top of this first. The second line chart, or you can say I have to map some data points on top of this line chart. Of course, over here I have my all the important dates. And I have all those observations where my values is 1. So I will say wherever my values will be 1. This is typically my y-axis, and this is of course my x-axis. This is my y. I will say this is my y-axis, this is my x-axis. In a similar way, this is of course my x-axis and this is my y-axis. Now again, just to make things more user friendly, you can also think of using your moving average. So what I will do is I will say I have this date and I have this tweet counts, but of course in the format of moving average. So I will say this is my moving average. So I will say this is typically my x-axis data and this is typically my y-axis data. So what I will do is I will say, hey, can you map this on top of this first visualization? Of course, this is also one of my line chart. This is also my, or you can say my line plot. Again, in the next session, this is typically my entire idea. So that's all about this session. And if you guys have any issues, any doubts, feel free to post your doubts via snapshots, via codes, whatever else you have. Feel free to share with us in the Q&A of the course. That's all about it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing. Hey folks, in the previous session, we have basically prepared our data just to visualize all these stuffs. Again, in the previous session, we have also learned, hey, we are just going to use 3-line chart typically. The first one is you can think of using some date and some tweet counts. The second one, you can think of using some important dates and wherever your values is 1. And the third one, you can think of using your moving average concept. So let's try to implement all these stuffs, of course, using Python. So first and foremost, what I will do is I will say, hey, of course, my data frame is all about my tweet underscore count. Let me very first say tweet underscore trend. Let me just execute this line of code. This is of course my data frame. Now I will say, very first I have to access a feature which is this tweet count. I will say, hey, just plot all the values. And if I will execute this line of code, I will end up having such kind of line plot. First and foremost, let's try to customize. Let's say, hey, can you make this visualization more bigger? So I can think of using one more thing, which is exactly my figure size. So what I will say is, I will say fig size is all about, let's say 14,10. Of course, 14,10 is my window size on which I have to showcase my line plot. And if I will execute, this is typically my line chart. Now, on top of this line chart, I can think of plotting this moving average. So what I will do is, so I will say, I have this feature on top of this. First and foremost, I have to use this rolling. And first and foremost, I have to define, hey, what is my window size? Let's say my window size is, let's say 30. Then of course, I can think of using one more parameter, which is of course my minimum underscore periods. And of course, minimum period says, hey, if we do not have our window size as 30, or if window size of 30 is not available, in such case, just consider your period as 10 or just consider your window as 10. So I will say my minimum period is 10. Then on top of this, I have to just call this mean. And after calling this mean, I have to say, let me show you one more thing. If I will copy all these stuffs and if I will paste over here and if I will execute, you are getting all these values. Now what you have to do is you have to just plot it. So I will say dot plot. And if I will execute, this is typically your line chart with respect to your moving average. Now what I will do is I will say, hey, just to make things more clear, hey, can you assign some different color? So I will say is, let's say color is, let's say this time, let's say red color. Let me just execute. And this time now I will end up having my line chart in red color. Now what I will do is I will just copy all this code and I have to just replace it to this and I have to just paste and I have to just execute this line of code. Now the red curve is exactly my moving average. Now on top of this visualization, I have to just map my all the important dates wherever it is, just to understand whether these tweets spike impact my US election or not. Of course, just to access your important dates. So I will say just assign some filter. Let's say wherever your important dates equals to true. So I will say wherever my important events equals to true. So this is typically my filter, and if I will execute, I am getting all these values. So first and foremost, I have to store it in some list. So I will say, let's say this is my field, and let's say I have to just print this field. Now what we have to do is we have to just pass this field in my data. So I will say data of field just to extract all these observations where I have all the important events as true. Let me just execute, and now I will end up having all these observations where my important events is true. So this is the date that I have to pass to my x-axis, and this is the values that I have to pass to my y-axis. Again, I can just pass all these date in the form of list data structure, and I can think of using some inbuilt function, let's say plot function, which is defined in my matplotlib module. And I will say inside this plot, just pass this x, just pass this y, and just pass some custom parameters considering what type of visualization you need. Let's say I want to customize my marker size, I want to customize my color size, or let's say, hey, can you customize your line style? So these are some of the customized things that you can perform on top of this matplotlib line chart. These are some of the things that you can do. Again, let me show you one more thing. So the dates that we are getting over here, which is exactly on my x-axis, this is of course in my date time format. This is of course in my date time format. But the dates that we have over here, these are exactly my string in nature. So first and foremost, I have to convert this into some datetime functionality so that I can map the visualization on top of the visualization very efficiently. This is what we have to do. So I will say data of filter. This will give all these data frame. So first and foremost, I have to access my date. So I will say, hey, can you access the date feature? Let me just execute, and these are all the dates that you have. Now what I will do is I will say, hey, can you just call values just to get all the values in the form of array or list data structure. Let me just execute, and these are all the values in the form of array. Now on top of this, if I will call, hey, can you just convert all these dates into some date time? And if I will execute this line of code, these are all the dates that you are getting in the form of date time index. Now of course, these are all the dates, or these are all the set of values, of course, for my x-axis. Now I need some y-axis data. So what I will do is I will say, hey, of course I have some data of filter. If I will execute, these are all my data frame along some features. Now I have to just access these values. So I will say just access all the values. Now on top of this, if I will say, hey, can you just call dot values? So these are all the values that you have. Again, just calling the dot values is not necessary over here because you don't have to do any manipulation on top of this values feature. Now this is typically my x-axis, and these are typically all the values of my y-axis. Now I have to just pass all these values to my plot function, of course from my matplotlib, and I will end up having my visualization, and this is what we need. So I will say on top of this visualization, what I will do is I will say plt.plot, and if I will press shift plus tab, that's all about the signature of this function, what all parameter it will receive. That's not a rocket science. So first and foremost, inside some x, you have to pass all these values over there. Then of course, in y-axis, you have to pass all these values. So I will just copy all these stuffs, and I have to just paste it over here. So I will say these are all the set of values, of course, for my y-axis. Now before executing it, first and foremost, let's try to cross-check its documentation, what this function will receive. Again, inside this x and y, let me show you that. Sure. So it says your x and y must be in your array data structure, or it must be your scalar. So what I can do is on top of this, let me show you one more thing. If I will say, let's say on top of this, hey, if I will call values. So these are all the values that I will get. Now let's try to assign some more color. Let's say this time, let's say this is my green color. And if I will execute this line of code, now we are getting a straight line over here. Let's say, hey, can you customize it? So what I can do is, instead of getting a line, I can think of using some another marker. So I will say, let's say this time, let me say this is exactly marker, and I can assign my marker size as, of course, in the form of circle. And if I will execute this line of code again, now I will end up having such kind of visualization. Again, now what you can do is you can disable, of course, you can disable this straight line. So what I will do is I will say here, you have one more parameter, which is my line style. So I will say line style, of course, will be my none. And if I will again execute, of course, the value that I have passed, it must be in the form of string nature. Let me just execute this line of code again. And now just in a couple of seconds, this is of course my amazing visualization that we are getting. Let me just make it more user friendly. So what I will do is I can customize the line style of first, of course, my first line chart. So I will say my line style, of course, this is my line style. And I can mention my line style that's in the form of dot dot. And if I will again execute this line of code, this time this is typically my original trend. The blue one is original trend, the red one is my moving average trend, and these are all my important dates that you can check. And of course, from this visualization you can come up with this conclusion. Yeah, of course, US president was of course elected on 8th of November 2016, which is of course my last green dot on this plot. And we can observe, hey, we have a lots of tweet activity near the end of this campaign. Again, if you want to customize it, you can assign some X label, some Y label, some title as well. That's not a rocket science. Let me just do it. So I will say these are my titles, this is my X label, this is my Y label. And if I will again execute this line of code, this is that attractive visualization, having some X axis, having some Y axis, and having all these stuffs. And if I will say at the end, just to make more things clear, if I will say plt dot legend, again, just to assign some legend, you have to very first assign some labels. I will say this label is, let's say its label is important dates in campaign. Let's say this is its label. So what I will do is, if I will execute this line of code, now this says, hey, wherever I have green dot, it says I have all the important dates in a campaign on top of this visualization that we have. But unfortunately, these two gives our wrong notification. Again, it is just happening because of this plot function basically belongs to my pandas module. Similarly, this plot also belongs to my pandas module, but this plot belongs to my matplotlib module. It means in matplotlib module, we have an inbuilt function as, of course, my plot function. But again, we are fortunate enough that we have an inbuilt parameter as label inside the plot function, of course, for my matplotlib module. But for pandas, we do not have any inbuilt as label inside my pandas module. Again, if you want to showcase the right legend or right label, you can think of solving this one and this one, of course, using matplotlib. That's not rocket science. Again, if you're not able to do it, please feel free to share queries, your doubts with us in the Q&A of the course. We will share some of the amazing solutions with you. Again, please have a try first. So that's all about this session. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing. Hey folks, in the previous session, what we have done is we have basically analyzed whether this tweet spikes impact the way of the US elections or not. And again, just to do this, we need to do lots of manipulation, lots of pre-processing, lots of data wrangling. And we have performed all these steps, especially in all our previous sessions. This is what we have done. So in this session, what we have to do is, again, we have to analyze, hey, can you analyze the percentage change in the tweet counts between some subsequent dates? And then we have to analyze if whatever important dates we have, of course, these important dates are those dates which belongs to Donald Trump campaign's dates. So again, we have all these important dates and we have to analyze whether these important dates relates with a spike or not. This is what we have to do, of course, in the terms of percentage. It means the core idea behind this entire problem statement is we have to end up having our one more feature, which is exactly a percentage change. Again, if we have this feature, our task is almost done. So in a nutshell, I need one more feature, let's say as percentage change, or let's say as PCT change. Imagine this is a feature that I have to create inside this data frame, which is my data. Of course, we need to do just some basic operation and we will end up having this feature. Again, just to create this feature, we have lots of ways. So let's try to very first discuss, of course, all the most frequent ways just to create this feature. So the first way that you can think of is, hey, I will use some inbuilt function, let's say as PCT underscore change. Of course, this is an inbuilt function from my pandas module. So I have to just call this function, just provide some basic stuff, and I will end up having all the values and I will just store it on a feature. That's it. The second way that you can think of is, hey, can I shift some values and I will perform some basic manipulation and I am done. Of course, this is the second way. Again, if you're not aware with the second way, we will primarily touch upon at the end of the use case. Again, it is typically your set of problems. So just try to solve it from your own logic. Again, if you're not able to solve it, just don't worry. But if you are able to solve it, you are at pretty good shape. So at the end of the use case, we will also touch upon how to create this feature, of course, using shift operation by just shifting some values, and we will able to create this feature. We will touch upon this. So let's try to apply this function on top of this tweet counts so that we will end up having these features. Again, we just need to compute what is the percentage change between the two consecutive tweets. This is what we need to compute. So what I will do is, first and foremost, I have to access the feature, which is exactly tweet underscore count. So I will just press tab and this is exactly that feature. So on top of this series, what I will say is, I will say, hey, just call an inbuilt function, which is my PCT underscore change. Again, this is all about the signature of this function, what all parameter it will receive. Again, it is extremely straightforward. That's not a rocket science. So it says, hey, I will just consider by default my period size is 1. Again, you can manipulate it as well. So what I will do is, if I will execute this line of code, these are all the values that you are getting. So just to convert this into percentage, you have to just multiply it by 100. So I will say just multiply it by 100. And if I will execute, these are all the values that I am getting. Again, with respect to 0th observation, you are getting some null value because 0th is my first observation. That's why we are getting a null value. Let me show you that. If I will say, let's say data of tweet underscore count, let me just execute. These are all the values that I am getting. Again, with respect to 1, we do not have any value. That's why I am getting, hey, there is no such percentage change. With respect to 1, I am getting a percentage change as 0. Similarly, with respect to 1 and 2, I am getting a percentage change as 100. This is what this function will do for us, which is of course an inbuilt function. Now let's try to store all these values somewhere else or in a feature. So I will say, let's say data of, let's say PCT change or percentage change, whatever else you want to mention. I will say this is my PCT underscore change feature. Let me just execute this line of code, and if I'm going to say data of head, let me pass some value, let's say 3. Let me just execute. Now you will end up having this feature, and this is exactly your main goal. Now what I will do is, I will say, hey, can you create a line plot? Can you create a line plot? Of course, just to create a line plot, you need some data points in the form of x and y or as a coordinate. Of course, this x will be nothing but my date. So I will say this date will belong to x-axis. On the other hand, on y-axis, I have all the values with respect to PCT change. Now, imagine I have some, let's say some line plot. Imagine I have some, let's say some kind of trend. Imagine just for a while, let's say this is a line plot. Now, on top of this line plot, whatever we have, I have to just map important date values. Again, on top of this line plot, what we have to do is we have to map one more line plot. Again, just to do this, I again need a coordinate as x and y. So this x will be, of course, my important dates. So I will say this x is all about my important dates. Of course, this y will be wherever my values will be 1, because wherever the values will be 1, it will belong to my important dates or it will belong to my important events. So I will say on top of this line plot, just map this one as well. So let's say these are some of the points. Imagine these are some of the points. So I will say, hey, over here, of course, this is my important points. And of course, over here, I have a spike. You can see over here, I have a spike, which directly says, hey, on important dates, you have certain kind of tweet activity, or you have a higher number of tweet activity. And this is our main conclusion. So let's try to code up all these stuffs in Python. So first and foremost, I have to treat this date, of course, as my row index. Again, if you have to convert this into row index, you can use, or you can think of using some sat_index function, which is of course an inbuilt function of pandas module. Again, you typically need your line plot. So just to end up having this line plot, there are tons of ways. You can think of using pandas. You can think of using this matplotlib. You can think of using this seaborn. You can think of using plotly. You can think of using your bokeh. There are n number of libraries just to end up having this line plot. But if you are good with, or if you are comfortable with any two of them, let's say, hey, I'm good with pandas, I'm good with matplotlib, I know plotly up to greater extent, and of course I know seaborn as well, then again you are at extremely good shape. Of course it is not mandatory, but it is good to have. But if you are comfortable with, let's say two of them, you're also at pretty good shape. So for this pandas module, what I need is, first and foremost, I have to make this date as my row index. Of course, that will considered as my x-axis data, and my y will be all the values of percentage change. So over here, first and foremost, I have to convert this into row index. If I can think of using this matplotlib, here we do not have to convert this into as my row index. I can say, hey, this is my x-axis data and percentage change is my y-axis data. In a similar way, you can also think of using this seaborn. So we will touch upon especially this pandas and of course my matplotlib as well. Again, for those of you who are interested in seaborn, of course, let's say as plotly, let's say as bokeh, whatever else it can be. Again, please feel free to share with us in the Q&A of the course. We will try to provide the code. Again, if you are comfortable with any two of them, then you are at good shape. There is no such need, but it is good to have. So what I will do is, first and foremost, I have to convert this into my row index. So I will say data.sat_index, and this is of course my inbuilt function. So over there I will say, hey, just convert this data into some row index. And if I will execute, you are getting all these values. Now, on top of this, I will say, hey, can you access a feature which is exactly pct_change? And if I will execute, these are all the values that you are getting. On top of this, if I will say, hey, just call a plot and let me just execute. Now you will end up having such kind of line plot. So let's try to customize this first, or let's try to zoom in this. I will say plt.figure. Over there, I have a very handy parameter, which is my fig size. Over there, I will say, hey, let's say this time my figure size or window size is all about 12,6. And if I will again execute, now this time sounds good. Now, on top of this line plot, I have to just map all those dates or all those data points that are especially belong to my important dates. Again, this is what we have done typically in the previous session. Of course, you can just think of using this code, what we have written. Again, for those of you who do not know all these stuff, kindly check out the previous video where I have explained all these lines of code in much more detail. Kindly check out it. So what I will do is, I will just paste it. I will just paste all these blocks of code over here. So first and foremost, let's try to cross check some of the stuffs. Let's say if I will copy all these stuffs and let me just copy it and let me just paste it. And if I will execute, these are all the dates that you are getting. In a similar way, if I will say, hey, can I think of using this one code as well? So I will say this is typically all the data that I need on y-axis. And what I will do is, I will just execute this line of code. And unfortunately, you are getting some wrong visualizations. Let's try to figure it out. Hey, why we are getting wrong visualizations? Now, let's try to find out why we are getting this error. Let me just paste all this code. And this is typically our original line plot. On top of this, we have to map all these green dot or important dates. Now, what I will do is, very first, let's try to check, hey, what is the data types of each and every feature? So what I will do is, now you will see this date belongs to object category, and the date that I have passed over here, unfortunately, it belongs to my datetime class. So I will say first and foremost, I have to convert its data type into, let's say, some datetime. So what I will do is, I will say data of date. Of course, this is my feature. On top of this, I have to just call this datetime. This is that function, and I will do all these manipulations, and I will say, hey, why not just update it? So I will say just access this feature, which is of course my date feature. Now once I will do all these things, now what I will do is, if I will again execute this line of code, Now this is typically our line plot visualization. And if I will again execute this line of code, and congratulations, now this is what you need. That's why in the real world, data pre-processing, data wrangling and data cleaning matters a lot. Even if you're not good with your machine learning skill, whether it can be data analysis skill, but if you're good with your logical skills, if you're good with your data cleaning skills, you can easily get a premium amount. Now you can examine on top of these visualizations, we have this important date, we have these important dates, and we have of course these important dates, and all these dates directly indicates US president election campaign will definitely affect the tweet counts. Now after doing all this stuff, now what I will do is I will just store my data frame, which is typically of course my troll data frame, at some another location, so that later on when there is a need to perform some advanced analysis, we can easily import the data. So what I will do is, now I will say trolls dot to underscore CSV just to convert this into some CSV data set. Now I will say this is that path where I have to store this data set, and I will say its name is all about, let's say, tweets underscore updated one dot CSV. Now just to make things more efficiently, you can append this R, which stands for of course my raw string, and I will say index is all about false, so that the data set that we have over here, or the data set that we have converted from data frame to data set, it will not hold the index of my troll data frame. And if I will execute this line of code, this will create a file as tweets underscore updated dot CSV, whatever the path I have mentioned over here. So this is typically my path, and this is typically my data set name. So of course it will generate this data set at this part. So later on, what we will do is we will try to import this data set, and we will perform some of the advanced analysis depending upon the problem statements that we have. This is what we will do in all our upcoming sessions. Again, it is just a one way to store your data. There are lots of ways to store your data. You can store this data frame into some databases. Hey, can I store this data frame into some SQL databases, or can I store this data frame into some big data sources or big data frameworks? Let's say, hey, can I store this into some, let's say, MongoDB? Again, depending upon the use case, you can think of whatever you want. So again, in the next session, we will primarily touch upon, hey, how to store this data frame into multiple formats. We will touch upon all those formats in the next session. So that's all about it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing. Hey folks, in all our previous session, we have analyzed, hey, whether US election campaign affect the counts of the tweet or not. Again, just to come up with this conclusion, we have done lots of data cleaning, data pre-processing, data wrangling, and at the end we have come up with this conclusion. Of course, at the time of US election campaign, we have observed certain kind of spikes in the tweet count. This is what we have analyzed. Again, in the real world, you can encounter such type of problem statements. So in this session, our problem statement is all about, again, this is very fun challenge. We have to just understand our text feature. So first and foremost, we have to read data. So just to read data, we need some modules. So I will say, hey, first and foremost, I will say just import my pandas just to do data manipulation, data exploration, and I will say just to perform some numerical computations of data. Of course, I can think of my one more module, which is exactly my NumPy module. Then just to visualize data, you can think of using Seaborn, and you can create its alias, let's say SNS. One more base module, of course, on which my Seaborn is built. So I will say just import my matplotlib dot, of course, Python plot, and I'm going to create its alias, let's say PLT. Let me just execute this line of code, and using this PD, we have to just call an inbuilt function, which is my read underscore CSV, because my data set is exactly in the CSV format. So what I will do is, I will say this is typically the entire path where my data is available, and this is my path, and my data set name is tweets underscore updated one.csv. And again, just to make things more efficiently, you can think of appending this raw string, which is exactly my R. And let me say this, it will return my data frame object. Let me store it in troll. And let me just execute this line of code, and I'm going to say troll.head. Just pass some random value, let's say 4, just to get a high level overview of how exactly your data frame looks like. And if I will execute this line of code, this is typically the high level overview of my data. Now, the problem statement is, at any cost, I have to understand our text feature as well. So this is typically my entire text feature. So what I will do is I will say trawl of text, and let me just execute. These are all the values with respect to whatever observations we have. Let me say I'm just going to access, let's say, some random values. I'm going to say trawl of text, let's say index 0. And this is typically the entire value of text at my 0th observation. Again, first and foremost, let's try to cross check whether we have any missing values or not. So what I will do is I will say trawl of text dot, let's say dot, of course, is null. And I will say on top of this, just call this inbuilt sum function. And it says, hey, of course, you have 21 missing values. So what I will do is I will say trawl dot drop NA. Over here, if I will press shift plus tab, that's all about the entire documentation. It is extremely straightforward. Again, we have very important parameter, which is my subset. So using this parameter, I can think of whatever column has missing values. I can remove all those missing values just passing that column inside this subset parameter. So what I will do is I will say, of course, it is my subset parameter. So I can just press tab and this is exactly my parameter. So I will say my feature name is all about text and I have to update my data frame as well. So I will say, of course, my in place parameter as true as well, just to update all these stuffs. And let me just copy these lines of code. Let me again paste. Let me again execute. Now we are fortunate enough that we don't have any missing value. Now what I will do is I will say, let's say just pick some random rows. So let's say this time, this is my observation. Let me just execute. And this is what we are getting. Now let's try to understand this text feature in much more detail. Now the first thing that you can see over here is, of course, I have some retweets which begin with a keyword, of course, from my RT. And these are typically followed by some @user key. So I will say these are typically followed by my @user key. This is typically the first thing. Again, the main goal is we have to clean this feature. Again, the question is why? Because hey, let's say we have to perform some analysis. Hey, can you find out some of the most frequent hashtags? Let's say, hey, can you find out some of the most frequent hashtags? Or hey, can you find out some of the most frequent retweets? Or hey, can you find out some of the most frequent, let's say, user mentions? Again, just to come up with all these sets of analysis, you need something known as data cleaning. So you need to clean the data just to come up with all these sets of analysis. Now, the second thing that you can observe, of course, we have some hashtag as well. So I will say we have some hashtags begin with this special character hash, and of course, and we have some continuous string. You can check, let's say as hashtag Islam kills. So this is typically a continuous string with some space next to them. So this is typically the second thing that you can observe in your data. So let's try to understand some more thing as well. So what I will do is I will say on top of this, just pass, let's say, some top 50 values. Let me just execute this line of code. These are typically my first 50 values. Now, of course, from this table, the third thing that you can figure out, of course, I have some hyperlinks. Again, these are typically my hyperlinks. Again, we have to remove these as well. And in general, it can either started from HTTPS or it can be also started from HTTP. The fourth thing is my user mention typically begins with this character, and of course, let's say this one. So this is typically begins with symbol, which is my special symbol, and we have some set of continuous word. So of course, after it we have some set of continuous word. Again, these are some of the patterns that I have figured out. There can be more number of patterns. Let's say we can have multiple links or multiple hashtags, or let's say we have just single retweets. There can be tons of patterns over there. Now, at any cost, I have to clean this data. So let's talk about the ways just to clean this data. The first thing that you can think, hey, first and foremost, you have to remove all the retweet mentions from the tweets. Then you have to remove, of course, my hyperlink. This is typically your second stage where you have to remove all the hyperlinks that is available in your data. The third approach that you can think of, hey, I can also remove hashtag from data. Then at last, I will say, hey, just remove all the user mentions from data. This is typically the way how you can just clean your, of course, my text feature. This is typically the way just to clean the text feature. Again, imagine you have to analyze, hey, can you return me what are some of the most frequent hashtags? Let's say what are some of the most frequent hashtags, or what are some of the most user mentions, or what are some of the most, let's say, retweets. Imagine I have to come up with these sets of analysis. Again, just to come up with these sets of analysis, what you can do is, imagine you have a feature, let's say, let me say, it is typically my text. So from this text, I can create some set of features, let's say as F1, F2 and F3. Typically, this F1 says, hey, I have all the hashtags, let's say hashtag Islam kills, hashtag something else, whatever it can be. Hashtag Donald Trump, hashtag Barack Obama, hashtag Narendra Modi, whatever it can be. Similarly, this feature 2 is all about, I have all the user mentions, let's say @Shan, whatever it can be. Similarly, this feature 3 is all about, I have all the retweets. So it means, in a nutshell, you have a feature typically as my text feature. So on top of this text feature, what you need to do is, this is the way how you can clean the feature. Just to come up with this conclusion, what are some of the most frequent text? Again, just to do this, you have all these steps. This is typically my one way just to clean the data. And this is, of course, my second analysis that you can think of. Let's say, hey, can you return the frequent tags, some frequent user key or frequent retweet mentions? This is typically the second analysis that you can think of. Again, while analyzing all these stuffs, you can either think of something known as word cloud, or you can also think of some plots and chart. Again, we will discuss all these things in much more detail, how to create the word cloud and what word cloud is all about, how to generate some plots and chart considering some text type of data. And we will touch upon lots of ways. Just, hey, let's say, hey, can you remove the retweets? So just to remove the retweets, we will touch upon tons of ways. Of course, in the context of real world. Of course, some of the ways will be typically your problem statement that we will touch upon at the end of this use case. And if you guys have any issues, any doubts, please feel free to share with us in the Q&A of the course. So that's all about this session. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing. Hey folks, in all our previous session, what we have done is we have basically understand this text feature in much more detail. Let's say, hey, how to clean this feature, what are all the steps that you have to follow in order to clean it. And let's say you can perform some of the analysis. Hey, can you just find out what are some of the top hashtags, or what are some of the most frequent hashtags inside this text feature. This is what we have to do considering this text feature. So in this session, our cool challenge is all about, hey, first and foremost, you have to remove all the retweet mentions from the data. Wherever you have the retweet mentions available in data, first and foremost, you have to clean this. This is typically your problem statement. So in a nutshell, let's say this is my entire data. So what I have to do is, anyhow, at any cost, I have to remove this retweet mention from data. Again, as it is a text data, my regular expression, which is of course a module in Python, often known as RE. So of course, if we have a set of a string, or if we have a text type of data, in such scenarios, regular expression is extensively used. So what I will do is, first and foremost, I will import a module known as RE, which is of course my regular expression. See, a regular expression is all about some set of strings that have some kind of pattern. That's a layman explanation of all about my regular expression. So whatever text data you have, imagine this is my, let's say this is RT. So this set of string holds some kind of pattern. It holds some kind of pattern. And again, if we are able to find the pattern, we can easily remove this retweet mention from data. Again, for those of you who do not know all these regular expression, kindly check out my previous video where I have explained basics regarding regular expression. Again, just to remove this retweet, there are lots of ways. Again, there are lots of functions available in this regular expression module. The first and foremost function that you can think of, hey, I can think of my substitute function. Of course, this is available in my regular expression module. The second function, of course, this is slightly advanced. I can think of my find all function. So this substitute function is all about. Over here, I have to define some pattern, and I will say wherever the pattern matches in any observations, just substitute it. This is typically a high level overview of this function. Again, apart from these two ways, there are tons of ways just to solve this. But these are some of the most frequently used ways in the real world. Again, in this session, we will primarily touch upon this, and this is typically your set of problem that we will touch upon at the end of the use case. So very first, we have to find all those observations which have my retweet mentions. What I will do is, on top of this, just call a function, just call an inbuilt function, which is of course defined in my string class. So I will say str.contains, and I will say, hey, wherever this rt is available, just return true or false. Again, wherever it will say true, it means at that particular observation, my rt as a substring is available over here. Now it says, hey, you have this retweet mention as second index, third index, fourth index, and so on. So what I will do is, I will just copy all these codes, and let me just say I have to do some modification. This time I have to pass some index, let's say 2. Let me just execute. This is typically your entire text at the second index of my text feature. Now, using substitute function, we have to remove this retweet. So what I will do is, I will say re.substitute. Over there, if I will press shift plus tab, but first and foremost, I have to import my regular expression module. So I will say, let me just import my re, let me execute, and if I will press shift plus tab over here, that's all about the signature, various parameters, docstring. It is extremely straightforward there. So first and foremost, I have to define some pattern. Then I will say, wherever this pattern match, just replace it. And of course, we have to perform all these stuffs on top of any string data that we have. Now, first and foremost, let's try to understand what can be my best pattern just to do all these manipulations. So let's try to understand all the stuffs regarding my pattern. So I will say my pattern will, of course, initialized from this rt. So I will say first and foremost, I have this rt. Then I will say I have dot, which of course accepts all the characters except new line. It will accept all the characters except new line. Then I will say I can have this star, which is responsible for having 0 or more occurrences of character except then this new line. Then I will say, hey, I can have one more scenario where all these stuffs were normal available. So I can think of using this quotient as a quantifier, which says as 0 or 1. 0 typically means it is absent, and 1 typically means all these stuffs and all these characters are available. So this is, in a nutshell, this is a pattern that we have to apply on top of the data that we have. So let's try to code up all these stuffs in Python. So my pattern is all about rt, then I have dot, then I have of course my star, and then I have quotient as a quantifier. Then I will say just replace it. Now I have to mention on what data we have to apply all these stuffs. So this is typically my entire data, and I will say this is my entire data. Now if I will execute this line of code, this is of course what you are getting. Now inside this text, you do not have any retweet mention, of course, of in my RT. Similarly, if I will pass, let's say some random rows, let's say with respect to fourth observation, and if I will pass this, and if I will execute, this is what we are getting. But unfortunately, I'm also getting this @shareblue. So let's try to remove this as well. So what I will do is I will say, hey, can I expand this pattern? Can I expand it? So of course I can expand it. So let's try to code up all these stuffs. So I will say this is typically my entire pattern. And if I will execute, this is what we really need. But unfortunately, we are still end up having some unnecessary data. So this is what we really don't need. So what I can do is, anyhow, I have to exclude all these things. Again, just to exclude this, there are tons of ways. The first way is, hey, can I use this match function? I will define some pattern and I will say, if this pattern will match, just return all these characters or just return all these set of strings. This is typically what my match function will do. Of course, as it is a set of string data or it is a text data, a regular expression is a god over here. So I will say, just to return all these valid entries, of course, to this /r. Of course, /r is also my invalid, but just to make things more easy, what I can do is I can say, hey, first and foremost, let's try to define some pattern. Let's say I have some pattern, and my pattern is all about, first and foremost, I have this dot, which says, hey, I can hold any character except the new line. I can hold any character except the new line. Then once we have this dot, then I can think of using this star, of course, which is my quantifier, which says, hey, with respect to this dot or whatever character we have, I can hold 0 or more occurrences of the data. So typically this dot will store my p, and this star is typically responsible for storing all these data till /r. This is what this quantifier will do. Again, as this /n is a new line, of course it is a new line, as it is a new line, hence this will not include this, hence our match will end over here, and of course we are able to store all these data. So let's try to code up all these stuffs in Python. So imagine I have this text, and of course on top of this text, let me very first print this text. Now what I will do is, first and foremost, I have to define some match, or I have to define some object of match. I will say re.match and just press shift plus tab. That's all about the documentation, some pattern, some string, that's it. So I will say my pattern is all about, I have some dot, then I have some star as a quantifier. So I will say this is typically my star. Now I will say just apply this match on top of your text. Now I will say it will typically return your match object. I will say let's store, let's say, an object. Let me just execute, and of course if I will, let's say if I will print my object, it will typically return till 0 to 81 my match was able to find. And if I will say, of course, object dot let's say group, on top of this if I will call my group function, if I will execute, this is what I will end up getting. Now unfortunately we have some extra white spaces, so on top of this what I will do is I can say, hey, can we strip all the extra white spaces? I will say just strip it, that's it. Now this is what I really need. So in a nutshell, if you are able to write all these codes, of course using a function, because we have approx more than 20k data points, and just to write all these codes for 20k data points makes no sense. Of course in the real world you can have 2 billion data points, so just to write all these codes just for each and every observation, it makes no sense. So what I will do is I can say, hey, can I define some function? Let's say this is my function, and I will say just apply this function on top of my text feature. Just apply this function on top of my text feature, and whatever it will return, just store it in some variable. Let's say text underscore partially clean or text underscore clean. This is typically what we often do in the real world. So I will say I have to define some function. Let's say remove underscore, let's say unnecessary. So I will say this is typically my function. I have to just pass some tweet. I will say just pass some tweet. On top of this tweet, first and foremost, I will say just substitute it. So this is of course my entire tweet that we have. I will say this is entire tweet that we have. Now on top of this text, whatever you have to say, hey, I just need a match object. Now whatever object you have, on top of this, just call this function, just call these two functions, just to end up having your final data. I have to just execute this line of code, and let me say I have to just call this function imagine this time for, of course, for some of my observation, and if I will execute, and this is what I will end up getting. Now I have to apply this function using an apply keyword. I will say just apply this function, which is of course my remove underscore unnecessary. So I will say remove underscore unnecessary. Of course it is unnecessary, just to make sure you do not have any typo over here. Or just to make things more simple, you can say remove underscore rt or remove underscore retweet. Just to make things more clear, I will say this is my remove underscore retweet. It is also my remove underscore retweet. Of course it will be also my remove underscore retweet. I will say this is my remove underscore retweet. So whatever value it will return us, I have to just store it somewhere else. So what I will do is I will say, hey, can you store all these value in some series, or let's say in some variable? Of course it will be my series data structure as as this tall of text is also belongs to some series data structure, and hence after applying some manipulations, of course using function, we will of course end up getting all the values in my series data structure. So what I will do is I will say, hey, let's say this time it is text underscore only, and let me just execute this line of code. And if I'm going to print, of course, my text underscore only, let me say it is exactly text underscore only, and let me just execute. These are all the values that I have end up getting, and we are fortunate enough that we do not have any retweet mention over here. It means our task is done. Again, in the next session, we will primarily focus on how to remove the hyperlinks from data. Again, this is one of the most complicated tasks in the real world, because hyperlink itself has lots of format, and just to remove this, it takes a lot of your business expertise. So that's all about this session. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing. Hey folks, in the previous session, we have basically removed all the retweet mentions from data. So in this session, our cool assignment is all about, hey, anyhow, you have to remove the hyperlinks from data that you have. This is typically your problem statement that you have to deal with that. Again, just to do this, there are lots of ways, there are lots of things to do this. So the first way that you can think of is, hey, I can use my substitute function, which is defined in my regular expression module, and I will define just some pattern and just do some replacement. This is typically the first way that you can think of. Again, just to define the pattern, it is one of the most complicated tasks. The second function that you can think of, hey, I can also think of my find all function just to do this. Again, these two functions typically are alternative of each other. So in this session, we will primarily touch upon this first one way. Again, this is typically a set of problem that we will touch upon at the end of this use case. Again, in a nutshell, we need just some kind of pattern. In a nutshell, we need some kind of pattern just to deal with this scenario. Again, my pattern, of course, for just to remove this hyperlink, there can be two scenarios. So first and foremost, let's try to discuss both the scenario. The first scenario is, hey, I can have some kind of anchor tag in my data. Again, this term is pretty much specific to the web development. And the second scenario, hey, let's say we do not have any anchor tag in my data. Imagine this is the second scenario that you can have. Of course, in context of web development, anchor tag, typically it is a hyperlink which is used to link one page to another. So whatever website or whatever hyperlink you have seen, most of that, of course, is typically written inside this anchor tag. Most of that is written inside this anchor tag. Of course, this is a part of web development, so we will not go in its depth as it is totally out of context. The second pattern that you can think of, imagine if you have such kind of data that follow the second pattern. Let's say you have some website, but we are fortunate enough that in this data, our patterns lie inside the second way, where we do not have any anchor tag. But of course, the first one scenario is one of the most real world problem. That's why we will also touch upon it at the end of the use case as a setup problem use case. So of course, in this session, we will touch upon the second one. Again, just to define this pattern, there can be lots of patterns available over there. Just to define a pattern, let's say, hey, can you define a pattern for a hyperlink which doesn't have any anchor tag? Hey, can you do this? Again, in general, the data that have hyperlink gets started either from HTTP or either from HTTPS. So first and foremost, we will try to figure out all those observations which have this HTTP as a substring. So once we are pretty much sure that any observation has, of course, my hyperlink, then we will try to define some kind of pattern just to remove the hyperlink that we have. This is what we will do. So let's try to find all those observations that have HTTP as a substring. So what I will do is I will say text underscore only dot str dot contains over there on top of this. If I will mention, let's say, this HTTP, and if I will execute, these are all the values, of course, as in the form of Boolean nature. Wherever it is false, it says, hey, in this observation, you do not have any hyperlink. But in this observation, it holds some kind of hyperlinks. So what I will do is, if I will pass this filter inside my text only series, so it will typically return all those observations that hold the hyperlink. So it says, of course, in my first observation, in my sixth observation, and there are so many. Of course, we have more than 95k data points where I have hyperlink. So just imagine the count of the data that you have. But again, we do not have any anchor tag inside my data. So let's try to cross check it. So of course, just to pass the substring as of course this anchor. And if I will execute, you will end up having the blank series. It means you do not have any observation that have a anchor tag. So if I will say, let's say text underscore only, and I will pass some, let's say first one. And if I will execute, this is typically the entire observation that we have. And this is of course my hyperlink, and anyhow we have to remove it. So first and foremost, let's try to understand its pattern just to remove this hyperlink that you have. So let's try to understand it. Imagine I have one more hyperlink, let's say as HTTP, and I have some more thing, let's say some short link or let's say some long URL. Imagine this is one of my hyperlink that we have. Again, so let's try to define some kind of pattern. So I will say first and foremost, my pattern will start from let's say HTTP. Then I will say I have some dot. Dot typically holds any character except the new line. Again, we can have also HTTPS. So just to handle these scenarios, we have to define a pattern where I have dot. But again, it is not necessary that each and every observation have dot. So what I will do is I can think of this question mark. Again, this question mark will handle this HTTP and this HTTPS as well. So then I have this question mark. Of course, then I have the set of characters that we have. So I will say dot, and of course just start, just to handle the 0 or the more occurrences. This is typically my 0 or more occurrences of characters that we have. So just to handle this scenario, I will say hey, this is my final pattern that I have to apply on top of this data just to eliminate this entire hyperlink. This is what my pattern will do. So I will say re.substitute. First and foremost, I have to define some pattern. I will say HTTP, then I have this dot, then of course I can have my question mark as well. So I will say my question mark, then again I can have this one, then I can have again dot, then I can have this star as well, which represent the 0 or the more occurrences of characters. Again, I have to just replace. So I will say this is typically my replacement string. Then I will say I have to apply this image on top of this data. I will say this is typically my data on which I have to apply all these patterns. Now this is my data which do not have any kind of hyperlink that you have. Now what you need to do is you have to define such a function that will do all these tasks for us. So I will say let's define a function, imagine remove underscore links. I will just pass some tut to this function, and whatever tut I have mentioned, I will say this is typically my tut, and whatever else it will return, I will say just return it. I will say this is typically my return keyword. And if I will execute this line of code, now what we have to do is we have to just apply, or we have to just map this function, which is of course my remove underscore links. So I will say I have to map this on top of my text underscore only series. I will say I can either think of map or either I can think of apply. Both are typically doing the same task. Now I will say it is of course my apply. Now what we have to apply? We have to apply this function on top of this text underscore only. Now what we need to do is we need to store all these values inside some series data structure. So I will say text underscore no underscore let's say links. And if I will execute this line of code, it will just take a couple of seconds, and I'm going to say text underscore no, just press tab, and these are all the values that we have. So if I will say this is of course my previous code. Over here, if I will press tab, this is of course my actual series where we do not have any links, and I will say this is typically my text underscore no underscore links. And on top of this, if I will execute, now you will see still you have some observation that says hey, you have HTTP as a substring, but the count is extremely low. Initially my count was approx, if I'm not wrong, it was close to, yeah, it was close to 95,000, but now I have just less than 2,000 rows. Let's try to cross check what type of stuffs we have. So I will say text underscore no underscore links, let's say 94th observation, and if I will execute, this is typically my entire stuff we have. Of course we have HTTP as my substring, but this observation doesn't seem as there is some hyperlink over there. Again, we can have some rows where we can have some kind of hyperlink. So we will primarily touch upon this one problem statement at the end of the use case, of course, as my set of problems. So that's all about this session. And if you guys have any issues, any doubts, feel free to ask with us in the Q&A of the course. We will try to respond as soon as possible. And of course, we will try to resolve your query as well. So that's all about it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing.